Welcome back to the Chattable podcast, where we learn real English in real life, enrich vocabulary, and feel proud. Today, we're getting into some pretty intense language.
Yeah, the language of power struggles, basically.
Right, exactly. So in this episode, we are focusing on 3 really powerful, highly expressive English idioms.
And these are phrases that show up all the time in high-stakes environments, like politics, corporate business, international diplomacy.
Because mastering real English isn't just about, memorizing a definition from a dictionary.
Right? No, definitely not. I mean, it's about feeling the emotional weight of the words. It's knowing the history behind them.
And, maybe most importantly, knowing exactly when using them would be a completely terrible mistake.
Yes, the context is absolutely everything.
Quick disclaimer for you listening, though. We are using some real-world political examples today, pulling from both the left and the right.
Right, but we are not taking sides here.
Exactly. We are strictly, completely impartial. We're just unpacking the language to show you how these ideas actually function in the wild.
It's purely an exercise in understanding the vocabulary.
So let's jump right into the first stage of a power struggle. We're starting with the language of vocal opposition. And the phrase is rail against.
This is a great one.
And here's the sentence we pulled from our source. Quote, as a candidate many years ago, he railed against endless wars. Now he got the U.S. military into a very unpredictable conflict with Iran himself, with no winning strategy in sight.
It's a heavy sentence.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it relies on railed against to fully highlight the hypocrisy of his later actions. But where does this verb even come from?
Well, this is the best part. The origin of this angry, forceful phrase actually has absolutely nothing to do with anger.
Wait, really?
Yeah, it's an amazing psychological flip. If you go back to 15th century France, the root is the French word railer.
Railer, okay.
Right. And back then, in the royal courts, it just meant to mock or tease or make a joke.
Like a court jester.
Exactly like a court jester. It was the only way you could critique the king and actually survive.
Yeah.
But hiding the insult in a joke.
Oh, wow, I see. But over time, as society got more democratic, I guess people didn't need to hide behind the joke anymore.
Exactly. The protective humor just kind of fell away, but that energy of attacking an institution, that stuck around and intensified.
So it lost the joke entirely.
Completely. So now, in modern English, to rail against something means to complain bitterly and forcefully. And crucially, almost always in public.
Yeah, that public part feels really important. Like if I'm annoyed about sitting in traffic, I'm just complaining, right?
Right, you're just grumbling in your car.
But railing against feels like I need, a podium and a megaphone.
Yes, you hit the nail on the head. It's reserved for passionate speeches, activism, fierce editorials. You need a massive target.
Which brings up the other example from our source material about Senator Bernie Sanders.
Right. The text mentions how he consistently rails against the influence of massive corporations and billionaires in American politics.
And that works perfectly because the target is so huge. He's taking a sledgehammer to a massive systemic issue.
Exactly. Which brings us to the golden rule of this phrase. We call it the cold coffee rule.
The cold coffee rule. I love this. Tell them what this is.
So if you order a coffee at a cafe and they hand it to you, and it's lukewarm.
Which is the worst.
Right, it's annoying. But you do not rail against the barista.
Please don't do that.
Right, you just ask for a fresh cup. Because if you use this phrase for a minor, polite disagreement, you sound ridiculously dramatic.
You sound completely unhinged, like you're standing on a cafe table delivering a 20-minute political manifesto about the decline of espresso.
Exactly. Save it for the big stuff. If your coffee is cold, just complain. Don't rail against it.
Okay, so railing against is how you vocally attack a system from the outside. But what happens when someone decides to forcefully enter that system?
That is when the language shifts from vocal to highly physical.
Right. Which brings us to our second phrase, barrel into.
I love the imagery on this one.
It's so visceral. Here's the source sentence for this one. Quote, he barreled into politics simply because he was mocked at a White House Correspondents Association dinner a few years ago.
So we are using a very literal physical object here, a barrel.
Right, like a heavy wooden cask used for storing wine or oil.
Exactly. Picture that massive, heavy barrel rolling down a steep hill. It's moving incredibly fast, it's totally reckless, and it is crashing into every obstacle.
Because it has no brakes.
None. It's impossible to stop.
So we take this terrifying, heavy, runaway object, and we use it to describe human behavior.
Yes. Metaphorically, barreling into means entering a new industry or a conversation with aggressive speed.
And zero caution.
Zero. You are causing disruption and are completely ignoring all the traditional rules of that space.
Like the source example we have of Elon Musk buying Twitter.
That is the perfect real-world application of this.
Right, because he didn't go on a slow, careful listening tour to learn the company culture.
No, he quite literally barreled into the headquarters.
Yeah.
I mean, he walked in carrying a bathroom sink.
Right, let that sink in.
Yeah.
He made immediate, massive changes.
He didn't adapt to the etiquette, he just smashed right through it. The old rules were just a fence, and he was the heavy wooden cask.
But just like the cold coffee rule, there are times you definitely should not use barrel into, right?
Oh, absolutely. You never use this for careful, deliberate actions.
Like, say, diplomacy.
Right. A seasoned diplomat carefully negotiating a fragile peace treaty is never barreling into negotiations.
If they are, they're terrible at their job.
Exactly. It implies kicking open the doors and shouting. It's exclusively reserved for fast, loud, disruptive entries.
Okay, so you've barreled into a new industry, you're railing against the old rules. Eventually, you were going to have to actually negotiate with the people who are still standing.
You can't just break things forever, right?
Which brings us to our final phrase. And this one is fascinating because it's a sports idiom that has basically conquered international diplomacy.
It really has.
Here is the target sentence. Quote, in Trump's mind, if a foreigner leader wouldn't play ball with him, he feels it's legitimate to take that leader out, which is what happened to former president of Venezuela Maduro.
Okay, quick pause here.
Yeah, we need a crucial context check for our listeners based on the source notes.
Right. While this is a fantastic grammatical example of that high-stakes mindset, President Trump did not actually take out Nicolas Maduro.
Right, Maduro remained in power. But the sentence perfectly captures the linguistic framing of that coercive mindset. So, play ball. Where does this start?
It traces straight back to American baseball.
Right, the umpire stands at home plate.
Exactly, and yells, play ball, to start the game.
Yeah, by stepping on that field, the players are agreeing to participate.
Right. They agree to follow the rules and work within a defined, fair system.
But I have to point out the irony here.
It's pretty glaring, isn't it?
Totally. You have a phrase that's literally about playing a game with fair rules, but now it's used to describe the most ruthless corporate and political deals on Earth.
It really is ironic. In business or politics today, playing ball just means cooperating or negotiating to get a deal done.
And if you refuse to play ball,
Then you're being stubborn. You are blocking progress or you are holding out for leverage.
which ties perfectly into our Taylor Swift and Spotify example from the text.
Yes, that's a brilliant example of leverage.
She refused to play ball with the streaming service for a long, long time.
Because she felt the artists just weren't being paid fairly.
Right. She basically looked at Spotify's stadium and said, I am not stepping onto your field until you change the rules of the game.
And eventually they negotiated, terms were adjusted, and she decided to play ball.
So it's a great metric of high-stakes negotiation. But I know there is a very important warning for the listener here.
Yes, please listen carefully to this. Never use this phrase when it involves strict legal compliance or morality.
Give us the scenario.
Okay, imagine a police officer pulls you over for speeding.
Right. You're sitting in your car.
The officer walks up to the window to ask for your license. Do not, under any circumstances, ask that officer if they want to play ball.
Oh my gosh, no. That sounds exactly like a bribe.
It absolutely does, because playing ball implies flexible rules. The speed limit is not a flexible negotiation.
You're basically asking the cop to ignore the law and invent a private shady game with you right there on the highway.
Exactly, you will get arrested. So keep it in the boardroom, keep it in diplomatic summits, but do not use it in a traffic stop.
Seriously, don't do it.
Just hand them your license.
All right, so to quickly recap our journey in this episode.
We covered a lot of ground today.
We really did. We learned how to vocally protest a system with rail against.
We looked at how to aggressively enter a situation by barreling into it.
And finally, how to negotiate leverage, or refuse to, by deciding whether or not to play ball.
But I want to leave you with a final, slightly provocative thought to mull over today.
Oh, lay it on us.
Think about all these sports and physical metaphors we use for everyday business and politics.
Yeah, we use a lot of them. We're always crushing it. or tackling issues.
Exactly. And if we constantly use words about crashing into things and playing aggressive games, does that actually change the way we behave in those situations?
Wow, that's a really good point.
Right. Like, are our idioms making our conflicts more dramatic than they actually need to be? Are we engineering aggression just by the vocabulary we choose?
That is definitely something to think about before you speak in your next big meeting. Well, thank you so much for joining us for this short, impactful episode.
It's been great being here.
Make sure to listen out for these phrases in the news this week and use them proudly. We'll catch you next time.